need to say much about that tune. It already opened a window to our childhood for so many of us. You might have eaten, slept, and grown up with Tom and Jerry, but do you really know how this chaotic duo was born? Do you know the struggles the creators went through to bring the blue cat and golden mouse to life? Do you know how successful they became, and how their golden age eventually came to an end? If not, let's find out together. Before we begin, note that we'll focus mainly on the original 1,940 seconds version by directors Joseph Barbera and William Hanna, the one most audiences are familiar with. Part 1. The birth of an idea. A cat and a mouse sounds simple, right? But the truth is, bringing them to the screen was a real challenge. In the fall of 1937, Joseph Barbera joined MGM, one of the biggest film studios in the US. At that time, the studio executives were desperate for a new hit after a failed series adaptation. Barbera teamed up with William Hanna to create a story about two characters constantly fighting each other. Initially, they considered a dog and a fox, but later decided on a cat and a mouse. After 2 years of work, they finally pitched their concept, but MGM's board hated it. Cats and mice, too old-fashioned, they said. At that time, Hollywood already had many cartoon cats and mice, like Felix the Cat and Crazy Cat. Still, Barbera believed his characters had something special, that audiences would instantly understand the humor just by seeing them. Eventually, a producer named Fred Quimby, though skeptical, gave them permission to make one short film. And so, in 1940, Puss Gets the Boot was born, the very first Tom and Jerry short. Nobody expected it to succeed. But against all odds, it was nominated for an Oscar for Best Animated Short Film. Even MGM's top executives were stunned by its success, and Barbera and Hanna were allowed to make more episodes. Part 2. Building the Legend. At first, the cat was called Jasper, and the mouse Jinx. MGM later held a naming contest among its employees, offering a $50 reward, around $950 today. A staff member named John Carr came up with Tom and Jerry, inspired by a popular alcoholic drink from the 19th century. Ironically, the creators didn't like it. They didn't want their characters named after alcohol, but it stuck. And today, when you hear Tom and Jerry, you think of slapstick chaos, not cocktails. This marked the beginning of an era, the rise of one of animation's greatest duos. Part 3. Behind the Scenes and the Golden Age. Unlike other directors, Joseph Barbera rarely worked from a strict script. He would draw the story as he imagined it, creating humor directly through visuals. It's said that he came up with about 75% of the gags in each film. William Hanna, meanwhile, handled timing, sound effects, and animation direction. And the famous scream of Tom the Cat? That was actually Hanna's own voice. Since the technology of the time was limited, every scene was hand-drawn. A single 5-minute episode required more than 7,200 individual drawings and took 6 weeks to complete. Each episode cost around $50,000, $60,000, roughly $1 million today. But it was worth it. Between 1,940 and 1,958, Barbera and Hanna produced 114 episodes, 13 of which were Oscar-nominated and 7 won, making Tom and Jerry one of the most awarded cartoons in history. It was the undeniable golden age of the cat and mouse. Part 4. The Fall Late. 1,950 seconds. But nothing lasts forever. By the late 1,950 seconds, television had become the dominant form of entertainment. Movie theaters were no longer the main place for short films. MGM decided to stop producing new episodes and simply rerun old ones to save money. As a result, Hanna and Barbera suddenly had nothing left to do. William Hanna lamented, "We made over 100 episodes, enough to keep theaters running forever." But that's not how creativity works. A few years later, when MGM's management changed, the new executives realized how foolish that decision had been. But it was too late. The duo was moved to the television division, where budgets were tiny, only $3,000 per episode compared to $60,000 before. Frustrated and burned out, they eventually left MGM and founded their own studio, Hanna-Barbera Productions. Their new company went on to dominate television animation with classics like The Flintstones, Yogi Bear, and Scooby-Doo. Part 5. Attempts at revival and lost magic. After Hanna and Barbera left, MGM released one final Tom and Jerry episode before shutting down its animation unit. In 1961, they hired Gene Deitch to revive the series, and since then, many versions have come and gone. However, none have recaptured the charm of the 1,940 seconds originals. Why? Because the old cartoons were chaotic and, frankly, violent. Tom used guns, hammers, explosives, and even poison, while Jerry fought back just as fiercely. Later, censorship rules banned violence in children's programs, forcing the creators to tone everything down. Even when Hanna and Barbera returned to Tom and Jerry in 1975, the restrictions made it impossible to recreate that same spark. Without those wild chases and clever traps, Tom and Jerry just didn't feel the same anymore. That's why the 1,940 seconds version remains the timeless favorite for generations of fans. Outro? Even though Joseph Barbera and William Hanna have long passed away, their legacy shines on a never-fading star in the sky of popular culture. And that's the story behind the rise and fall of Tom and Jerry, two of the most beloved animated icons in history. Would you like to know how the supporting characters in Tom and Jerry were created? Or how their art style evolved through the decades? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, thanks for watching and enjoy your next cartoon.